All right, guys, we are back again, back from the holidays. I hope everybody had a good Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. But we're back, and M4 is right around the corner. We only have, 5 days left until the group stage starts, and 6 days until I am jumping on a plane to get there on the 4th. Super excited, super hyped. But let's not talk about me or just M4 as a total, because we are doing the part 2 of the group stage breakdown. Yes, that's right. We're going to be dissecting Group B. And if you don't know, if for some reason you're not caught up, or this is your first time learning about M4, Group B right now holds 4 of the 16 teams in the World Tournament, and those 4 teams are MDH ESPORTS from Mekong, ONIC Indonesia. A lot of people think they're the favorites right now. TODAK coming from Malaysia, and MALVINAS Gaming coming from Latin America, specifically Argentina. I'm pretty sure. I think they have a little bit of a spread, but they came from the first annual Latam Super League. Now, I think this group is probably honestly going to, I hate to say it, but probably one of the easiest to predict out of all of them. I think there's a very clear pecking order in this group. One or two games maybe could end up being upsets, but overall, I don't think this is really that hard of one. I'm sure a lot of people agree. Let's jump right over. We're going to be using the same exact website that I used for Group A, pretty much challenge.gg or challenge.com, I forget, whatever. But I make false brackets on here. It gives you a lot of leeway and ways to predict. So this isn't the order that the games are going to be going in the group stage, but it's just kind of the order that that challenge gave me. So I'm just going to do them in order. MDH, pretty much to give you a little bit of info on MDH. I have a few notes. Definitely a newer team, I would say, to this, but not someone we can completely count out, but still very, very newcomer. They have not been in any World Series just yet, but I will say they're Romer Nart and their gold lane, he. I think that's enough. We'll just call him he. Have played on some bigger stages like MSC, IESF, for example. So they do have some stage representation, right? They were the Vietnam representative in ISF, and they didn't do horrible, I would say, comparative to some of the teams that were in there. They were better than some of the other teams, but they were definitely worse than some of the other teams. But I do think it could give them a slight edge as they come into this world stage over some of the other teams. Maybe, actually, no, I was going to say over Malvinas, but the thing is Malvinas was also at ISF, and so was TODAK. The only team that wasn't, which was ONIC, but I don't think ONIC really needed to be at ISF to be warmed up. So game 1, MDH versus ONIC ID. There's no questions asked. This is, I honestly believe this is an easy game for ONIC. This is a nice little warm up. If this was their first game, I got to give it to ONIC here. I mean, a lot of people are thinking Indonesia's in their prime right now. This is going to be Indonesia's year, and it's kind of hard to disagree with them. ONIC had a rough year last year. I think they came in 8th or 9th, something like the 8 to 12 spot, or 9 to 12 spot, or 6 to 8 spot in M3. But I gotta say, they do look very good this year. The major thing is, to me, Indonesia's they've always seemed like a very aggressive region. A lot of their junglers are amazing on these assassin picks, especially Kyrie. And I think right now, ONIC ID has the team to not only be aggressive, but has the mechanical capacities to back up that aggression. You know, they can play the way they want because they have the skill to go with it. And so that's just like part 1 of them. Part 2 is right now they have, if you look at the statistics, they have one of the largest hero pools than any team in M4 right now. And you can argue this and say that, but when you look at the numbers, they had 51 unique hero picks out of 54 games in their past season. That's insane. That's almost a unique hero. That almost averages out to a unique hero every single game. Of course, they didn't pick a unique hero every single game. Maybe one game it was 2 or this, but either way, comparative to some of the other teams, ONIC ID is just blowing them out of the water out of using different heroes throughout their series and games. So you add that to the layer of their aggressiveness, and it makes them a team with a lot of depth. Right? A team with a lot of depth, a lot of theory behind them, a lot of possibilities. So I think a lot is on the line. Hopefully that weight doesn't get too heavy on them and they can pull it through. I know sometimes RQ has had trouble sealing the deal. Hopefully ONIC ID does not follow in those footsteps and makes a name for themselves this series. I think they're going to do a great job. So they easily take this game against MDH. For some reason, it did not submit score. All right, after that, TODAK versus MALVINAS. Now, I did really want to try to put one possible upset game in all of these. I don't know if I can really put one in here in Group B. I will kind of go over, I think there's 2 games that I think could end up being upsets. Maybe a few, but I think it's pretty clear cut. TODAK versus MALVINAS. Now, I know that MALVINAS, they had the ISF. Another team, they went to ISF. They're ready to play, right? They have a decent team. They really like to use, for objectives, towers, they really like to bring all 5 members together. To whereas a lot of other teams, it's 3 for a turtle or 4, maybe your EXP laner and your mid, your roam, your jungler, etc. But MALVINAS will really get all 5 players involved. Whoever's on the opposite side of the map will rotate down. Same thing for towers, which can be a good thing. It's kind of a high risk, high reward, right? Because you're leaving one of your towers open. You possibly, you're losing something. It just depends. But it can work well. One of the things that they also kind of mess up here and there on is closing out and lord pushes, their sieging, their high ground attacks, things like that. They kind of revert to, instead of trying to push in and take it, they will play more of the starvation technique of waiting out, letting you come to them, which isn't a bad technique either, but you have to know both, right? You need to be able to close out a game and also bait for the end, right? You need to have both of those things mastered if you want to be one of the best, and right now it feels like they only really have one of them completely mastered. Something they probably need to work on a bit, but they do have a lot of time. A lot of them do have world stage experience. They were in M3 last year, so I mean they should be past the whole jitter point of things. They've been playing competitively for a while now, and maybe they show up. But the question is, can they take on TODAK? TODAK, another team that is just spicy. Like, that is just another team full of depth, right? Siku. A lot of opportunity there, a lot of ways to move around, change roles, change lanes, things like that. TODAK just brings this different level and essentially leaves the opponents thinking, TODAK's plan essentially is like, if you don't know what's coming, there's no way you can strategize against us. We're always going to try to throw a curveball. And I heard Mirko say at one time, they flip a coin. Every fight's a coin flip, and it's another team, high risk, high reward, but I think TODAK has it down to a bit more of a science than MALVINAS. The possibilities are there. MALVINAS could maybe 30% chance, 40% chance at a max take this game, but I got to give it to TODAK in the end. Sorry if it feels like there's some skips in this video. I've been forced to kind of reset my screen every time because for some reason my predictions won't stick unless I refresh. So game 3, MALVINAS versus MDH. Now, I think a lot of people from overseas are probably going to give this game to MDH, but honestly, I think this game and the ONIC versus TODAK game will probably be like our closest games, maybe our best matches, but even, I don't know, the TODAK and ONIC game could be very one-sided, but we'll talk about that in a second. MALVINAS versus MDH. Again, I just talked about both teams. I think both of them are good, but they may be lacking in a few things here and there. This one is hard just because also I don't have like a ton of information on MDH. I think MALVINAS could have some trouble in this tournament in general. They weren't like, we're going to break digress a little bit here. S11, for example, was the first place Latam team that came from the Super League, and they stomped that event. They only lost one series during the season, and that was against New Wave Mexico, a team that I know very well. And Malvinas got beat by New Wave. Malvinas then gets sent to the lower bracket in the playoffs by New Wave, and then New Wave loses to them for the third place spot. But honestly, so Malvinas does kind of, when it comes to the long haul, they can get these wins out in playoff brackets, but it just kind of explains where I put them in a power level. And I don't know. I want to like give them the win here against MDH just because I think it could happen. Like, I don't want to count them out. But now that I came into this thinking, all right, I'm going to give Malvinas the win here. But after saying that and recalculating, I think MDH takes the win here. I don't know. I think MDH ends up taking the win here. It's still not working. Look, I can't. I'm clicking, but it's not working. All right, we're going to skip into the future again for a second. See you in a second. All right, ONIC versus TODAK. Now, I don't, I'm going to be honest. I think ONIC is going to come into this group stage swinging, destroying. I mean, I don't think they're going to take a loss anywhere in this group stage. I think they get first place in their group. It's just how I feel about it. I mean, it is possible, but I think they take this. Again, I think ONIC is just a bit more disciplined, has a bit more of a... we talked about curveballs, and I think TODAK is more of like a risky curveball team, to whereas ONIC is like the calculated, like, listen, we have 51 unique hero picks. Yeah, we can throw in some curveballs, but they all have they're not risks exactly. It's not like the coin flip that TODAK is. So honestly, I got to give this one to ONIC. I think ONIC is really going to end up being a team that we have to all keep our eyes on here. I'm not going to keep resetting. Next up, we have TODAK versus MDH. Now, this one I do give to TODAK. I think they're just a bit more ready. I think TODAK surprised me in ISF. I think they did a good job, and I think they'll continue to do a pretty good job. I think they do end up securing a spot in the upper bracket. I got to give it over to the side of TODAK here. I think they'll just win out kind of in aggression and possibly even pick apart MDH a bit here. Finally, ONIC ID versus MALVINAS Gaming. No, I'm sorry, There's no defense. I don't think Malvinas I don't think Malvinas has the mechanical prowess, the coached and drafting capabilities, the analysis capabilities, or the depth of hero pool that ONIC ID is. Like, if I had to rate every team on several different things, I think Malvinas is just lacking a little bit behind in several of those categories, if not all of them. So honestly, I got to give this one to ONIC. Now that they're all saved in, we should be able to refresh and get the correct look at it all. All right, so final look at, we see ONIC coming out on top 3-0, TODAK 2-1, MDH 1-2, and Malvinas 0-3. So far, most of my it looks almost identical to Group A. But yeah, I like I said, I don't think this was a super hard group to judge. I think a lot of people may agree. The only things that a few people may disagree is like the MDH TODAK game maybe, in the Malvinas and MDH game, just depending on where you're from. But again, all of these teams, I don't have any deep connection to them. I'm just stating an opinion. Maybe I'm completely wrong, and I say it all the time. I don't mind being wrong. I hope that I hope that Malvinas comes in and sweeps everything, or MDH comes in and sweeps everything, and we're just blown out of our seats as casters, as viewers, as Mobile Legends lovers. I hope that this whole event gets flipped on its head, and you just don't have no clue who's gonna win at all. I know there's been some insane patch notes, but again, from what we know from the numbers, I feel like these are good guesses on my part. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you agree, if you disagree, feel free to leave a comment about your thoughts on the teams, who you think could end up. What do you think? Actually, I guess the big question is what game do you think could be the upset in this group? Let me know. I'll be sure to leave a reply. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Trex out.